Yo, what up everybody? It's your boy Fitzmonk TV here, aka Jon33. I'm back here on my channel, and I got a little bit of some WWE ranting to do tonight. All the talk has been about Double or Nothing, and if you guys haven't checked out my AEW Double or Nothing review, that is live on the channel right now. Make sure to go check that out. But the big thing that we're talking about right now today is Jon Moxley did an interview with Chris Jericho, his AEW comrade. And they talked about AEW, they talked about, Jon Moxley coming to AEW, all that good stuff. But the big thing about this interview is Dean Ambrose spent a large amount of time talking about WWE and his frustrations with Vince McMahon, creative, and etc. And how Vince McMahon and creative was basically the real reason why he left WWE. Dean Ambrose, and I spent time listening to this interview, and today I'm going to be playing some of the big highlights from the interview for you guys. I'm going to give you guys my thoughts. It really pisses me off because me, JD from New York, my boy Anthony, we've been saying this for months. For years, in fact, we've been saying that Vince McMahon is the problem with WWE, and everyone thinks we're just blowing smoke up our asses. Everything that Jon Moxley says in this interview is 100% fact. Factual, because Jon Moxley, he tells the truth. He's a guy that's not going to give you bullshit at the end of the day. He's really not. And what we see with Vince McMahon and the creative team right now on WWE television, if Triple H doesn't take over, slowly and surely, one of these days, AEW is going to become #1. And it's going to take years. Let's be serious here, alright? It's going to take a long time for AEW to be on the level of WWE. Because WWE, they've been #1 for so many years. It's not going to be, oh yeah, if AEW comes and they have 2-3 good, strong months when they first off, they're going to, take over and be #1. No, it's going to take years. Because WWE it's just that big. It's that known. It's that global. But AEW, if it comes, and when it comes, when it starts putting on better shows than Monday Night Raw and SmackDown Live, and you see the ratings drop, and you see the viewers for AEW rise each and every week, while the viewers for WWE TV fall, and when WWE loses its TV deal to Fox, and it loses the TV deal to USA, then that's when you'll finally see that WWE is no longer the same that it's always been. I don't want that to happen because I love WWE at the end of the day. I really do. It pisses me off. And it causes me unnecessary stress. Look at Sasha Banks, the #1 female wrestler on the planet. People have been criticizing her ever since she left. After you read this interview, after you listen to it, and if you dare say that Sasha Banks is not right for what she's doing, for standing up for not only herself, but other people, other professional wrestlers that are frustrated with WWE, then it's just a load of crap. It's just a load of crap. And you need to get drug tested. Because Sasha Banks, what she's doing is, she is completely right to stand up for what she believes in. She's completely right. She's completely in the right to stay out and choose not to come back to work. Who would want to go work for Vince McMahon after hearing what Jon Moxley said in this interview? Who really wants to stay with this company? I don't understand it. The way that Vince and the WWE management, the way they treat their employees is absolutely disgusting. It's disgusting in my opinion. And I absolutely hate it. But at the end of the day, hopefully, the one thing that I hope you get out of reading and listening to this interview and listening to these highlights I'm about to play for you guys is I hope you understand that Vince McMahon, he's a cancer to WWE. And that cancer has to be removed if WWE has any chance of staying #1 until AEW comes back or starts. You guys get what I'm trying to say. So I'm going to play these highlights for you. I'm going to pause them at certain points and give you guys my thoughts. But hopefully, after you guys listen to this, you guys will understand what I've been saying and ranting about for months when it comes to Vince McMahon and WWE. So let's get straight into these highlights. I also want to give credit to Russell with Andy since this is from his channel. But, let's get it going.
There's the thing that Vince hated about this whole situation, why it was so bizarre and there's so many ups and downs, because he has no control. Because I told him, I don't care how many zeros you're going to put on a piece of paper, I'm gone. And he's just got the $1 million man complex. He has to be able to buy he's got to be able, that's why he pays Brock billions of dollars to come in and run his company. Because he wants to.
I started there. Fact. Brock Lesnar. Every time you hear, ooh, Brock Lesnar's going to UFC. Brock Lesnar's done with WWE. No, he's not. The reason why Brock Lesnar comes back all the time is not because, I'm not going to necessarily say it's because Brock wants to. It's because he's getting free money. He's getting free money. Brock Lesnar is probably the highest paid superstar in WWE history. It's probably nowhere close. Because look at it. We see Lesnar come back. Lesnar is renegotiating his contract on a yearly basis, not even on an appearance basis. Every time he makes an appearance, he's probably going back to say, let's renegotiate. He's getting paid just to come out there, stand in the ring while Paul Heyman does his promos for him. Legit. And then when he has his actual matches, all he does is a couple suplexes here and there, F5s, maybe a Kimura lock here and there if you're lucky, and then boom, 1, 2, 3, he's out of there. He's gone. The only time, it's rare to see Brock Lesnar have a really good match. He's had a couple, AJ Styles, Undertaker, SummerSlam 2015, etc., etc. But you guys get the point. It's absolutely ridiculous. The guy's getting paid millions and millions of bucks to legit come in and kill WWE. And it's like Seth Rollins, everybody says, Lesnar doesn't care. He's going home with his pockets stacked, rich. And the thing about it is, what is he even doing with his money? WWE superstars, they get paid a lot, especially if you're on, at the top, like the John Cenas, the Goldbergs. And the thing about it, it's ridiculous. Ridiculous. The people who bust their ass, the people that are there 365 days a year, working on the road all the time, taking time away from their families, their loved ones, their kids. They don't get paid nearly as much. Yes, they get paid enough to pay their bills and take care of their families, but still they're not getting nearly paid as much as these part-timers like Lesnar, like Shane McMahon. It's absolutely ridiculous. It's ridiculous at the end of the day. And they're legit. Lesnar's coming in to kill WWE and he doesn't care. Honestly, what is he doing with his money? Lesnar, based on what we know, Lesnar lives in the middle of nowhere in Minnesota, where he's away from social media, he's away from society. What I've heard is, basically all Lesnar does is he stays at home, he goes hunting, fishing, stuff like that. So what are you using your money on? You're getting paid millions and millions of dollars to do what? You're not even using that money. Unless, I can understand, you probably have more than enough money to support your kids for the rest of their lives. So why? Why? Dean Ambrose said it. It doesn't matter. Legit. And you'll probably hear it right here. Dean said when he told WWE that he was leaving, Vince gave him a contract, an envelope or something with a new contract in it. Legit. And had circles, 000 for how much, the company was willing to pay him just to stay. Legit. WWE is willing to throw thousands, millions of dollars at these superstars to stay when they don't want to. Just because, like Sasha Banks, you can tell Sasha Banks, she wants to get out. She wants to go to AEW. And everyone's criticizing her for it. For what? You're not using her on WWE television correctly. We all know she's the best female wrestler in the world. But yet you're not using her the way she should be booked. Having her lose at WrestleMania to the Iconics. Are you fucking kidding me right now? And then she wants to leave for her own happiness so she can actually do what she wants to do somewhere else where a company that she knows is going to treat her right. But instead, no. You want to keep her here in WWE just to do what? Just to sit in catering? You're willing to pay millions and millions of dollars to superstars just so they can sit in catering. That logic makes no sense to me. Why? You're not using these superstars. And yeah, when they want to leave so they can pursue better opportunities for themselves, you don't want them to leave. Why? If you don't want them to leave, use them better. Write creative storylines that they can get invested to. One thing that you listen to, when Dean Ambrose was with WWE, most of the time it looked like he generally didn't care. He generally didn't care. And now you can tell that he didn't care. Because WWE is a depression. Unless you're like the Roman Reigns and the Charlottes of the world, it's a depression at the end of the day. And it's absolutely ridiculous.
Owen Brock. He wants to be like, Brock's my attraction, And a guy he has no power over me. He didn't know how to handle it. So it was like, it went in a bunch of weird, crazy directions over 5 months.
Did they ever eventually give you the new deal, and what did you do when they did?
I never looked at it.
So they literally gave you a contract in an envelope.
Never looked at it.
You just took it and gave it right back.
I didn't look at it. No. I didn't want to.
But that shows how and like I said, I can empathize with you because I went through the same thing when I left WCW. You can offer me $1 million. I'm not taking it. Because it's not about the money anymore. It's about literally, like you mentioned.
Exactly. And, like, back to my point. These superstars make thousands and thousands of dollars. Not only on their WWE contracts, but the endorsement deals they get, their appearances. They get paid to appear on television shows, talk shows, you know, meet and greets, all that. And that's not even, don't even forget merchandise. Do you know how much money WWE makes on merchandise? It's ridiculous. I read something that WWE makes nearly as much money on merchandise than it makes in annual ticket sales. Legit. That's the thing. It's one of the problems with WWE. They don't care about their creative. They don't care about their storytelling. They don't care about their television product because they're making more money than they ever had on other things like merchandise and all these other ticket sales. People are buying into this company and they're not giving a product that we deserve. They're not. All right, they're giving a product that we all hate and stress over at the end of the show. It's absolutely ridiculous. Becky Lynch, she's been the best merchandise seller all year. It used to be Sasha for the woman, but it's been Becky Lynch ever since she became the man and all that. If you look at Becky Lynch's WWE shop page, she has new merchandise nearly every day. New shirts, new hats, new merch for every single day. Because the more merchandise you sell, the more money you make. And it's ridiculous because the superstars they get a portion of their merchandise profits. They get a part of that. So Becky Lynch, she's probably making more money just off merchandise than her actual salary. And that's absolutely crazy to think about. And you can tell WWE doesn't care. They don't care. As long as they're making money at the end of the day, they're like, oh, why we gotta care about our creative? Why do we gotta care about our storytelling? It's it's garbage. It really is.
Killing my love for this business. It's all I've ever wanted to do. And
these superstars, they don't need they need money, of course, but the amount they make, they don't need millions and billion-dollar contracts. They really don't. It's ridiculous.
Do it anymore. And Eddie felt the same, and Benoit felt the same, and Malenko felt the same. It was killing your will to be a part of this business at all.
Dude, yeah, I mean, I remember thinking that. Oh, crap! I remember thinking at one point earlier on in the thinking about decision. What if they offered me $10 million?
Right.
Or like a Brock contract.
Right.
Like, just what if they offered me just $10 million? Mm-hmm. What am I gonna do with $10 million? Mm-hmm. I have my truck is paid off, my house is paid off, my mother's house is paid off. I got everything I need. What am I gonna do with $10 million? Am I gonna go buy a Maserati? You know, I don't live like that. You know, so I'm like, there's literally no number they could put on a piece of paper that would get me to stay. It's almost like over the years, like a physical depression sets in.
Another very interesting part of the podcast, and one that I was very surprised to hear, was that Moxley revealed to us that Vince McMahon tried to convince him to cut a lot of promos on Roman Reigns.
Alright, so we talked about already, the whole thing about Brock Lesnar and how WWE is paying, Lesnar just to come in and kill the company and how Brock doesn't care. Now, the second part of it is, more about Dean's frustration with creative. Here, this part talks about how Dean was very frustrated with Vince because he had to come in and do a promo. And basically, this was around the time with the whole Roman Reigns leukemia story. How Roman actually had to go fight cancer and how they were trying to make this into a storyline because they wanted to keep Roman, in the story. All this other nonsense, really. And, how Dean was very frustrated how, Vince was legit scripting. And this shows a lot on WWE's the way they script. The promos that you see these superstars give, most of the time, there's very few superstars that are allowed to go out and, improvise and put their own spin on their promos. Probably people like Paul Heyman. And maybe like CM Punk when he was there. And John Cena, The Rock, Stone Cold. Those kinds of superstars. In a way, when it comes to these superstars, they expect you to do it off the script. If you try to improvise, in a way, they're not going to be happy. They're really not. And it could get you heat backstage. You know, a lot of people were like, Sami Zayn, he's going to get a lot of heat for what he said about AEW. Supposedly, per reports, the Sami Zayn AEW line was scripted. It was scripted. I'm like, what the hell? Why? And it just shows how WWE's creative team has so many screws loose. But I'm going to play this part about Dean and talking about the leukemia, and I'll talk about it in just a sec.
During his cancer treatment, and according to Moxley, a lot of these promos were very, very distasteful, and he point blank refused to say them.
And earlier I had to go into Vince because in this promo, there's a line that's a very distasteful line, taking a jab at my friend who had leukemia and is now going off to recover from that, Roman Reigns. Something, I don't know what the line was, but I'm not saying, are you kidding me? Right? So I'm like, I'm going right into Vince on this one. This is clearly a mistake.
Cheap heat line.
Yeah, this is clearly a mistake, right? So.
And the thing about it is, with this line, I believe that I remember the promo where Dean Ambrose, I think it was a backstage promo, if I can find it. It was a backstage promo when Dean was like in the sewers or something like that. And you could tell, he talks about it here in just a sec, when, you know, Dean was doing the whole storyline where he was going around with the gas mask, talking about how, you know, this city stinks, I can't take its stench, all this other stuff. He says it here in the interview, how he didn't want to agree with that, how he found it stupid, how he was going around from city to city, talking about how it smelled and all that other nonsense. He says it here, and you can tell WWE superstars, they're not happy with what they have to do on television, but they do it because it's their job at the end of the day, and they're obligated to basically do it since they work for these companies, and I find it sick. I really do.
I go into, like, I think it was in production meeting at the time, and I'm like, hey, real quick, this is, surely you don't want me to say this. And he's like, oh no, but Roman's part of the story. We got to make sure he's still included. You turn on him and Seth. And he kind of explains it to me, and like he says, you know, you just say the thing about Roman, or they just include him. And he says it in kind of an innocuous way where it kind of didn't seem so bad coming out of it. I was like, okay. And all the writers were all like, oh, you got to say it. And basically he gave me the Vince Jedi mind trick. Yes. Which I'm pretty immune to at this point, but every once in a while he still gets it. Yeah. And it's my fault. I got Jedi'd, whatever. So I'm like, oh, okay, right. So I think this one we did live. I cut the promo. As soon as that line left my mouth, I went, oh my God, I can't believe I just said that.
Do you remember what the line was?
It was just something about, like, he's got cancer, sucks to be him, something like that.
Right.
Yeah, I remember, now that I'm thinking about it, I remember that promo, and I wish I could find it. You know, maybe I'll search it up and see if I can find it before the end of the video. But legit, it makes me sick. It makes me sick. You know, just thinking about, you know, how WWE scripts these superstars to say this nonsense. At the end of the day, they don't want to say it, but they have to. Like, the perfect example, Baron Corbin. Baron Corbin, you could tell he doesn't improvise in his promos at all. Everything that Baron Corbin says on the microphone, you can tell he's saying it off the script. He's one of the most scripted superstars I've ever seen. And it's one of the reasons why I don't find him entertaining, and I find him as pure garbage on WWE television. It makes me sick at the end of the day.
Not cool. Especially, like, with, I mean, come on.
And also, I forgot to mention this. He said it. Vince McMahon does a mind trick in a way. Alright, where he's able to make you, if you have a problem with something on WWE television, something that you don't want to say, alright, he can convince you to say it without you even knowing. He can make you believe that it's not that bad. And I find that really, you know, in a way, you kind of want to say, on one side, you're like, maybe it makes Vince look smart, but at the end of the day, it doesn't. It makes him look like pure trash at the end of the day. Like, hey, you're manipulating your superstars to say this nonsense, to say this garbage? Like, really? Why? Why?
You know, like, dude, so, and it's like, in the middle of all this trying to get pooper scooper lines out of the scripts, I don't even realize that this horrible thing that I shouldn't be saying that I said, it's like, oh my God. You know, so, now I go back into the writer's room. This is getting to be an exhausting day, right? And if you're having trouble following all this, imagine what it was like to be me, right? So now I go back into the writer's room. And success. We got our version of the promo in before the pooper scooper line, right? So, and also, remember, keep in mind during all this, this is a billion-dollar company run by a man who's allegedly a genius. And keep in mind, we're all adults. And we're talking about stuff like this. So
yeah. Vince McMahon, a guy that's supposed to be a genius, a guy that's a genius in so many people's eyes, right? But legit, when you hear these stories, you're like, really? Vince McMahon, the guy behind WWE, the billion-dollar company, really? Is he that bad? Yes, he's that bad. And this should show you this. Interviews like this should show you how bad and how toxic Vince truly is to the company that he runs. It's absolutely ridiculous. Really.
Oh, good news. We got it in before the pooper scooper line. But when he wrote that, whatever line he wrote, something I wouldn't come out here without a gas mask or whatever. Remember what I was saying about the line in the previous promo the week or so before. This promo also had a line regarding my actual friend was going through actual leukemia that Vince wanted me to say. But he tried to talk me into saying. This is where I absolutely drew the line. Like, I was like, absolutely not. No, and he's actually tried to talk me into it a little bit, but I was like, absolutely not. And he's like, oh, if you feel uncomfortable, that's fine. You know, I'm like, no. That's where I had to find.
Of course, classic Vince McMahon trash voice.
And it is the worst line. You cannot. I'm not going to say it on air. I'll tell you after we're done. But I'm not even going to say it on air. That's how bad it was. It would have been like a thing where like somebody would have had to get fired. Maybe me. They might have like lost sponsored, like the Susan G. Komen and all that. It would have been like, you know, and I don't know who wrote it. I don't know if it was Vince himself, or if it was a writer, and you're listening right now, you should be ashamed of yourself. You wouldn't believe it, that, you know. But if I'd have just said it, if I'd just been like, okay, and just read the script, I can't imagine, you know. But I would have been
legit. Now I kind of wish I could figure out what that line truly was, because he said that this line never made it to television, never did. But I wish I could figure out what this line was, because it's how WWE would lose sponsors. Lose, you know, people to get fired. If it was that bad and Vince actually wanted his superstars to say it on television, that makes that's mind blowing. Also, you also got to take into consideration here. Dean says it here. He would not get in trouble. Vince would not get any trouble for Dean saying that line, even though Vince was the one that wrote Dean to say that line. Dean would be the one to get the backlash. Dean would probably be the one to get in serious trouble for saying that, even though his own company, his own boss told him, scripted him to write that line. Let that register with you for a sec. Dean would get in trouble for saying something inappropriate on television, probably when it came to the Roman Reigns leukemia story, where it would probably affect WWE with its sponsors and all that other stuff. And the fact is, Dean would get in trouble for doing his job, doing what his boss scripted him to write and say on live television. Just think about that for a sec. How mess that actually is.
But it would have been on me, not on Vince, you know? Anyway, so that's that day. So those are just two examples.
And to me, one of the most surprising reveals on the podcast is when John got into detail about his final shoot at Clash Royale. Part about this is that Jon Moxley.
And the last part of this is when this was when
$100.
Dean was talking about how when he was leaving WWE, how much they actually paid him for that final show. How WWE does these like little FUs to you at time, little things, and it's little and minor things, and things that are not that serious. But hey, you could actually after this read this, you can see how messed WWE actually is. So he'll say it right here. WWE, and you talk about when they made that whole Shield final chapter, that little special they did on the WWE network. He says it here. He was paid $500 for that. Just $500. And yes, it was a house show, but it was on WWE Network. They flew in, you know, extra cameraman. They flew in the commentators. They flew in, you know, creative writers, stuff like that for this show. All right, for this special. And mostly the main reason was they were doing the special for Dean since he was leaving, because they already knew Seth and Roman, they were going to stay in the company. But, you know, the Shield, this was the three of them. This was the Shield. And you know, this hearing about it is absolutely nonsense, because you learn something here about how WWE paid superstars, and this goes for WWE superstars. They have their contracts. But when they come in for work, like Raw, SmackDown, you know, live events, house shows, etc., if you are not used on WWE television, if you don't appear anywhere as an extra or in a promo or anything like that, WWE pays you $500 for that night just for showing up. So if you're in catering and you're not on the show at all, somebody like maybe an Apollo Crews or a Tyler Breeze, somebody like that, or an Elisa Fox, someone in catering, Dana Brooke, etc., you're getting paid $500 just to show up. And the fact is, Dean Ambrose, for his last show, alright, they paid him $500 just as like a fuck you. Just like, hey, fuck you, go enjoy whatever you do next. Alright, yeah, you want to leave us here, we're just going to give you a nice little fuck you to go. And Dean, at the end of the day, yeah, it's not going to affect him too much, because yeah, Dean has a lot of money, but you get to see how petty WWE really is at the end of the day. This is one of the reasons why I don't really want Sasha to come back. She's the best female wrestler in the world, and we hear all these stories of how WWE would love to have Sasha back. You know, they would love to take her back with open arms, but why would she come back? Why? Why would she come back? You know, if she comes back, who's to say WWE won't bury her worse than they did before? Like, I don't get it. Why would you want to come back if you believe the company that you work for is going to treat you worse than they did before you left in the first place? I don't understand it. And people are like, oh, she should come back. No, she should only come back if she truly wants to come back. She shouldn't come back because the company wants her back. She should come back if she wants to come back. That's why I hate all this criticism she gets. Because if it was CM Punk, if it was Neville, when they all did it, you guys weren't criticizing them. You wished them the best for them. I don't see Neville getting any backlash for it. I don't see CM Punk getting any backlash for it. But yeah, when Sasha does it, oh yeah, you want to bash her. I'm telling you, man, there's sexism here. And a little racism on top of that. And I really hate it. I really do. I really do. It's like when they give Bayley the SmackDown Women's title. It was like, not only did they give the title, because there was rumors saying Sasha was gonna be the one they were gonna have win the briefcase. But no, Sasha left. So here, Bayley stayed. So we're gonna give it to Bayley as a fuck you to Sasha. Absolutely ridiculous.
Shield to kind of be disbanded and be done, because the Shield, I think, if you look at probably one of the biggest factions with DX, top 2, top 3 of all time. And to me, that was a huge thing from a business, kind of a sideline business thing, where not only are we losing Ambrose, but we're losing the Shield as well.
Yeah, I mean, you know how much I got paid for the last show I did?
And this is the Shield special. This is about hello, Renee.
The house show.
The Shield special, live on the network.
This is literally, they turn this into a special. Flew in writers and cameramen and everything, put it on the network. Basically for me.
Right.
$500. Got paid $500 for that sucker. I can just imagine Vince and like Toronto and them at the, oh, what are we gonna take it? $500. Screw him.
$500,
That's the
man.
minimum. That's what you get to just show up.
That's what you get if you're like an opening match guy from NXT. You know,
Yeah.
not building a whole special around you.
Yeah, if you show up to TV and then usually you get $500. Or like, I think that's like what extras get.
Yeah,
That's
right.
like the minimum. $500 for the network special. Come
Remember we
on.
had
I thought about calling him for a second, but I was like, nah, it's funnier to just.
Remember when we had
Legit, $500.
The Asheville street fight, Jericho
My
versus
goodness.
Ambrose, and they paid us $750.
Yeah, and he said, I don't get off my couch for $700.
Yeah, I told Vince, I said, next time can I set up a table, sell some gimmicks in the back of the room like
Yeah,
Virgil? But I mean, and yeah, you know what that is. That's just the one last little kind of F you, Ambrose. Here's your $500. See you later.
I actually like it. I should frame that check.
Well, yeah, don't spend it for sure.
Yeah,
A few other things as we start to wind down here. When you started really embracing the concept of AEW, and now you've made your first appearance, and I mean,
So that's all the main talking points on Jon Moxley's.
So those are the main basic talking points, and I have an article here that explains a little more. I think it's right here. Because I think there was a couple more. Those were the main points, but there was a couple more interesting points that I saw in the video that I want to, basically just lightly talk about before we get out of here. But, if that doesn't give you a better idea of, the kind of company that Vince is actually running here at the end of the day, then I don't understand what will. Like, legit. The truth is in the pudding, as they said. The truth is in the pudding. I'm trying to find it. Hold up. Give me 1 second, guys. Man, I wish I had this preset. That's it. Make sure the comment section down below. Let me know what you guys think about this article. You know, and I'm telling you, man, it gives you. I love when talking Jericho because it's like you're not gonna get no bullshit with people like Jericho or Dean Ambrose. They're gonna tell you the truth right to your face, legit. All right, let me see. All right, here. One of the things here, and what I think we'll figure out what later in the video. But one of the things that Dean talked about really is when he came back. Remember when Dean first tore his bicep, in 2017, when he had that match with Samoa Joe, and he was gone. One thing I want you guys to remember here: Dean had been with the company for since 2011, 2010, something like that. And the thing about it is he worked his ass off. He was known as WWE's Iron Man. Never had injuries, was always there 365 days a year. He was at every show, every house show, every event, busting his ass for the company. Legit. And the way WWE treated him, he felt it wasn't right. Because Dean was like, I saw this. If you guys saw WWE Chronicle, they did a special with Dean Ambrose, and there was like these short little mini interviews they did with him, during his recovery and how angry he was, legit, and all his thought process. It's a really good thing. You guys should check it out. It's on the WWE Network. But the thing about it is when Dean came back, Dean said one thing that he was looking forward to was that pop. Whenever a WWE superstar is coming back, that big pop they get. He was looking very forward to that, and he couldn't wait. He thought it was going to make, the last 9 months worth it, and he was going to get back to doing what he loved to do. But the thing about it is, WWE messed it up in his opinion, because when he came back, and I remember it, I hated how WWE do it. It was a promo. You had McIntyre and Ziggler in the ring, and then Seth Rollins is at the top of the stage, and I think, and Seth Rollins, I remember the line, he goes like, if you're going to have a psychopath in your corner, in reference to Drew McIntyre, Drew McIntyre, he's called the Scottish Psychopath, and then there's a little pause there. Seth goes, well, I guess I ought to have a lunatic in mind. And everyone's like, oh my gosh. And it's not like we didn't know Dean wasn't coming back. It's the thing about it is it would have been so much more organic and authentic if they just let him come out, let the music play, and then make it more unexpected. Even if you knew it was coming, just let it play. When you just saying that sentence, I ought to have a lunatic in mind. It just shows you like, hey, why would you do that? Why would you just not let his music play? Make it organic, make it more special. It takes a little bit away from the actual return pop. And Dean says in the interview like, hey, it really pisses me off because, hey, how do you screw that up? And it's just one of Dean's many frustrations with WWE's creative process. Let's get a little bit more into the interview. Dean goes out to say, I knew pretty much that I was gone in July of 2018. And at that point, I was out with an injury. All right. And basically, that was right before he came back. I remember. But normally that would only be like a 4-month thing, but it was so banged up and bruised because I've been working on it for a long time. And we already talked about it, how Dean, was WWE's Iron Man. He had never, he was never out with, he was working hurt, but he still decided to stay on the road, decided to bust his ass for this company. And while he was dealing with the bicep, he got staph infection. Then I had to go for surgery again. It turned into 9 months. So it was supposed to be 4 months, but it was supposed to be a 4-month injury with basically 6 months being the max, but it turned to a 9-month a 9-month injury. And he said it was a very miserable time in his life, very challenging. And in July was when he knew. Even though I knew in July, I knew the whole time I wasn't going to quit. I wasn't going to ask for my release. I wasn't going to try to get fired, anything like that. I was just going to write it out to the very end for a couple of reasons. This is why he never decided, to ask for it to release, why he never chose to quit, why he decided to stay with WWE until his contract gave out. He said, what? I just rather not do business like that if I don't have to. My wife works there, so he explains it right here. One of the reasons why he didn't quit before his contract was out because his wife also works in the company, and it would not be a good look on his wife Renee Young if he had chose to quit before his contract ran out. Even though Dean's with AEW now and Renee's still with the company, at the end of the day, he didn't want to make his wife's job harder just because he was not happy there. And, Dean also says, and we get to April 30 and the clock strikes midnight. I'm just free and I just get all my royalties. So if they're going to sell a Shield DVD and Campbell died 2 years in a row, I'm getting my 2.7 cents. So, yeah, so one thing, if you quit WWE, apparently, you don't get your full royalties, which makes sense in a way. It's like if you quit a job, a part-time job, you're not eligible to get your bonus. He also tells a time where he talked about his conflict, and this is more just talking about the conflicts with creative. So one day I come into TV like normal. At this time, I think I'm on SmackDown. I'm a good guy, a babyface, a pretty major good guy. Yes, he was. I remember when during the first Superstar Shakeup in 2016, when he first got moved to SmackDown Live as the WWE Champion, he was a major babyface. The major faces on that show were, I believe, him and Cena and Randy Orton at the time. AJ Styles was like the #1 heel, along with Bray Wyatt. And The Miz. SmackDown Live was looking pretty damn good at the time. And, SmackDown Live, it's better than Monday Night Raw now, but still, I wish we could go back to those days when, SmackDown Live was absolutely incredible. And Dean says, I come in and I get a backstage promo handed to me from a writer. The writer is going to be a keyword in this podcast you will find. And the word script. I get a script handed to me by a writer. And it's a backstage promo and it's me describing the things I did on the way to the arena that day. I can't remember exactly what the things were because they were so ridiculous. And this isn't a isolated incident. There's hundreds of these promos that have happened over the years that they all get lost in the shuffle. But it was 3 or 4 things. They weren't things that a cool person does, that a relatable person does, that a guy you want to have a beer with does. Not even things a guy you would root for does. Just things that an idiot would do. Like things go along the lines of driving backwards on the street in a unicycle or, sharing a pizza with a whole span of the street. Just weird stuff like that. So I'm like, I'm not saying any of that. Alright, so I'm like, change all of that, rewrite it just to something normal. Go about my business. The writer comes back to me later. Vince redid the promo, put all that stuff back in. So I'm like, oh God, now I have to go and talk to Vince because Dean didn't want to do that promo. He made his changes to it, and now Vince went back and made the change because, Vince gets the final say on everything. And you get to see how weird these promos are. The promos you see these superstars do on television, you can see how terrible they are, and it's because Vince gets the final word. Vince gets the final approval. He approves for these superstars to go out and have to say this garbage. So he goes to Vince and he says, yo, I can't say all this stuff. It's ridiculous. And he's like, oh, it's such good shit. So Vince McMahon, thinking he's a genius, saying, oh, this stuff is actually good shit. Wow. Absolutely ridiculous. This is the reason people like you. It's why they connect to you. You're different. This is you. And exact same conversation about similar promos or things. This is you. It's such good shit. This is what makes you blah, blah, blah. And Dean's like, so I'm an idiot. Because basically the promo is set to make Dean look like an idiot in the eyes of the audience and people viewing the promo. And I'm like, okay. And I don't know where we land on that particular promo or whatever, but that kind of sums up the battle I've been fighting for 6 years. So you can see, for basically all of Dean's run on the main roster over the last 6 years, basically from 2012 all the way to 2019, not even 7 years, you can see he's had to deal with this nonsense with Vince McMahon. He's had to deal with these promos. Like, at the end of the day, Vince gets the final approval, and if Vince says it, it has to be done. It's absolutely ridiculous. And this next one is how Dean was talking about doing promos, and you know how this is basically when Dean was coming back and he had to turn heel. And I think we already talked about this was about the pooper scooper line and the whole Roman Reigns cancer situation, so we're not going to talk about that. Let me see if there's anything else. No, that's actually the last in line. But you guys can see, basically, you know, we spent a good amount of time dissecting this Dean Ambrose interview, and you can tell how messed up WWE is, and it's more Vince than anything. And then, yes, part of the blame goes to the writers because WWE's creative team is absolutely atrocious, you know. But at the end of the day, I put most of the blame. I'm going to give 60% of the blame to Vince McMahon and 40% of the blame to the writers. And this is why Triple H needs to come. You listen to this interview, you read the interview, you read the transcript, and you can tell how you can see all this nonsense that, you know, these superstars have to put up with. And you think about it just like, wow, I'm walking to work and I have to say this, I have to do this, and you know, I can't do anything because whatever Vince says, you know, at the end of the day, and it shows Vince isn't a genius. He's an idiot at the end of the day. It's an idiot. All right. Why would anybody want to work for a company for a man that clearly doesn't know what he's doing? Yes, Vince has done so much great for WWE, but in 2019, his time is up. He has to go. It's time for Triple H to step in and run this company the way it does. If you want people like Sasha Banks to truly come back, and you know, if you ever want there to be a chance that CM Punk one day comes back to WWE, Vince McMahon has to go. He has to go. And there's no other way to look at it. I don't care what anybody else says. This interview to show that. For people out there criticizing Sasha Banks, saying all this nonsense about her, please shut your fucking mouths and actually go get a brain. Go listen to what people are actually saying. Alright, because Dean Ambrose, he's highlights, because you're not going to hear this stuff from WWE superstars, because if they said it, they would get in huge trouble. They would get buried by WWE, alright? But at the end of the day, you take a look at this interview and actually educate yourselves. Open up your fucking eyes and realize what's wrong with this company. Please. But, you know, that's about all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed this little extra, you know, WWE video, this extra rant. But, you know, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe if you guys are new to the channel. Make sure to enable notifications by clicking the bell next to my name, Fitzmonk TV, so you guys are notified every time I post a new video. I'll see you guys later. Make sure to have a great day, guys. Peace.